Unsyndicated presents Off the Board, the weekly gambling show. Hosted by Blake Majerzak and Mike Iverson.
Welcome to another exciting week of Off the Board, where Blake Majerzak, and Mike Iverson give you picks, and we're getting on the right trend, I feel like, but we're still not right where we want to be.
No, I should be off the board on my NFL show bets, being 2-8.
We're so backwards. We're so backwards because my NFL picks are doing well.
Yeah.
And usually they don't.
I mean, you're looking at, for the show bets, I'm 16-25 or thereabout with my NFL bets, which is just horrid. But I've got a winning record with the NCAA bets. This is crazy, but I'll take it. And I got a little breakdown here in a little bit, and which is going to lead to a question I have for you about why I'm struggling with some of these bets. But let's get started, baby.
I was looking at the college slate earlier today and earlier in the week. Did you realize that there's no late night college football this week? I don't know if you noticed that when you were going through the games. There's no kicks after 8 p.m.
You know, I didn't notice that. I know when I was looking, like, usually it takes me a while to scroll all the way to the bottom with the 10. You know, Hawaii's going to be at like 1 a.m, whatever time.
No, they're playing at like 4 p.m. this week.
Yeah, and I know I've got a West Coast team playing at noon. So a lot of early games.
So it's super heavy buys. This is besides week 2. This is the least amount of FCS versus FCS or FBS versus FBS games in the entire season. There's just not a lot of games, but I have a lot of picks.
That's what you're saying. You got a lot of picks. I'm just below you, which is, not shocking. You usually fire a little bit more than me, and I know you'll have more. You'll be sending me during the games as they're going on. You love your live bet and some parlays, and I'm sure some TD bets that will be going on.
But what were you saying? I rudely interrupted you. I'm sorry.
You know what? I don't know. I think I was about to say the thing with no late games is early bedtime, and I love it.
Early bedtime, but you don't have a get right game. There's just not, like, if it's a bad day, it's just a bad day. We don't have a late night Hawaii game to get right with.
Exactly. And you said it right. You took the words right out of my mouth. Hawaii has been people's get right game forever. As soon as people are betting, they just know if you're having a tough time, there's always Hawaii.
There's always a late night Hawaii or Mountain West. San Diego State kicking off at like 10:30, something like that. Yeah, we got none of it this week. Literally, 8 o'clock is the last kick, which I like. It's kind of nice though that they did that actually with a smaller slate. Like, just cram it all in.
And it's why I've always said I think I was born to be on the West Coast, because that would mean on the West Coast their latest game is 5 o'clock. Are you kidding me? I have and you know me, I'm up at 5 a.m. every morning, so I don't mind a 9 a.m. kickoff with these noon games. But you give me my latest games at 5 p.m. Whoo, I'd love it. That would be heaven to me.
Real quick, just to start off, I already know the answer to this, but the people out there do not. What do you have on this Jets game?
I have the Jets, and I got them at -1. You've heard me talk a lot about this guy at work. I talk betting with and talk football with. He was actually employed at one time by the Jets. So we'll talk Jets a lot. And I told him, I said, since he is no longer working for them, it's a win-win situation. If the Jets lose, he wins because he's going to be happy and can throw it in their face. If the Jets win, I'm happy. So it's good. It's a total good. But I took the Jets. This line it's bonkers. It went off as high as 3 by kickoff, but that's all sharp money. I think it was like 24% of the bets, 25% of the money all week has been on the Jets, and that line has just trickled from 1 to 1.5, 2, 2.5 to in some spots 3 at kickoff.
And before I was looking at this before the show, and I'm sure this is a game. I don't know why this game feels like a Mike special. Did you see the line in the Rams game? How it's like it's all over the place. Like
it's the Rams Seahawks, right?
Yeah, and there's places where it's like a half point, and then the Seahawks are at home. Yeah, the Rams are favored by a half point. Some places 1.5 others, and then but it opened at 1. It's just a weird, stinky line. I don't know.
Right. So with that one, the reason I'm not too aware of it is just because of all that movement throws me right out, unless it's one-way movement. And I know it's not one-way movement. And it's one of those games that when I'm listening and I'm reading all the stuff that I read, you have 2 heavy sides. One, love the Rams. Blake loves the Rams. Blake's got him some Super Bowl Rams bets, right? And then there's guys that love the Seahawks, is it McDonald, the new coach?
Yep.
And they're all over
Former Michigan DC.
Yeah, there's 2 real heavy sides in this, and they're battling back and forth to the point of I could see it flipping sides a couple of times. If for some reason the Rams go off as dogs, I might take a look at that one because I really do like a healthy Rams team.
So we were talking about it before the show too. We thought we would open up with some baseball. Todd, I don't know if you have the graphic ready to go up there.
This is for Eric, right?
Yeah, this is for Eric. If he comes back and watches it later, or just some breaking news for Eric.
Yeah, because we know he's going to be watching some Yankee highlights, right?
I don't think there's many of those.
Well, wow, that's dropped since the top of the 5th inning started last night. That one has dropped.
I turned on that game at the top of the 5th, so I saw everything, and I was like, it was incredible theater. I mean, that was playoff baseball. Like, it was such an enjoyable game to watch, but still, that Yankees choke job was incredible.
They gave him 6 outs in the 5th inning, and that was just terrible. And as much as I would love to, gotta watch this. Yeah, it's gonna be so. As much as I'd love to talk baseball, the Jets going Jets. I mean,
I saw no touchdown on that.
No touchdown. He drops the ball before he gets into the end zone.
Was it?
Number 14. It wasn't Wilson. It wasn't Adams. And now this has got to come back here. This is going to be an incomplete pass, but it might not be. Who knows? But they just fumbled, and the defense took it in for a touchdown. But I don't think it's going to be a completion. But the Jet. Watching Aaron Rodgers, and if we can go back, I mean, honestly, people, if you don't believe me, go back and watch our first show. I said something like this was going to, like, all these overs to win the Super Bowl, to win the AFC, all these Jets bets, all the overs on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been good for years. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time, looking in his eyes, he's saying it himself. He is saying, I'm old and I can't do this. What am I even doing here? Like the look in his eyes, and that's just defeating this team.
Did they cut the kicker that stinks? Or is
Zerline? Well, did they kick him? He cut him. He's on IR.
Okay,
so they ended up taking they
would have 2 more wins if they didn't have him.
Yeah, Carpenter, or I think it was Carpenter. They had 2 kickers today that they could sign, and they were going to wait till right before, I think it's 4 p.m. when they signed some guys. And I want to say it was Carpenter that they ended up signing. So
gotcha.
That's good because it's not Zerline, but that's bad when you're signing your kicker 3 hours before game time.
That's true. All right, you want to get into a little review real quick? We can roll through this quickly.
Let's get into a review.
College football. That Friday night game, I know you didn't stay up and watch the end of it. It was a great game, though. I really enjoyed it. Boise State covered, obviously, and the under hit, so we were both winners on that. And Genty only had 1 touchdown. Boise State still won by 5. It was
Yeah,
a great
I saw
game.
the beginning of the game, and that's all I needed to know. That was trending under the whole place of those games there.
Yeah, I mean, UNLV was hitting some explosives, but they just weren't converting them to touchdowns. So both of those teams are really good teams.
Yes.
But Boise State, I think, is basically the rest of their season's pretty much a cakewalk until the Mountain West Championship game. So they're looking good to make the playoff, and I think that team making the playoff, especially if they end up playing a Notre Dame, I wouldn't mind Boise State against Notre Dame at all.
I agree. I would be right on that, and you know why? Because they would be dogs, and they'd be getting a nice amount of points in that in that game. And this is the beginning of the question that I'm going to ask you, Blake, because that'd be a good game because of the parity in college football.
Yes.
And it's there, it exists. And I myself, I need that for my betting. I need that parity. So I would love a Boise State Notre Dame playoff game.
Speaking of Notre Dame, they smoked Navy. We were both dead wrong about that.
Yes,
Navy,
I will admit
turned
that.
the ball over like crazy. We were never in that game. Like I said, for me, that was more of like wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I thought Navy would be more competitive in that game.
Yeah.
But there's just, as good as Navy's been playing, and as low as I am on Notre Dame, I'm never going to deny the fact that they have far superior athletes to Notre Dame, and that was clear in that game.
That was very obvious. It's funny. I met a buddy at a bar. I think it was 7-7. And I'm like, all right, I'm in this one. I ordered myself a Corona, and I looked up at the TV, and I think it was 28-7 by the time the guy came back. And I'm like, all right, I'm not. And then, like I said, just watching it, even from afar, volume off, you could see the discrepancy in talent.
It was bad. Oregon, Illinois, we both hit on that under. Yeah. I felt very good about that one. Yeah. Oregon absolutely boat race them too. That game was never really in doubt for Oregon. I mean, I think they jumped out to like a 14-0 lead very, very early in that game.
Quick.
They just kind of coasted, which is great, and it was great for us with the under because Illinois could not score either.
No, you've been saying it since Oregon got off to the slow start with the first 2 weeks. You've been saying it since then. Your saying has been Oregon is now playing with their food, and that is what they are doing. That's what makes this week very intriguing for one of our show bets.
Yeah, that's very true. A&M rolled against LSU. You were a winner on that. I had the over and LSU. The quarterback changed that game completely, and I just didn't expect that.
Unbelievable what that guy did when he came in. They couldn't stop anything once he was in. It was ridiculous.
He completely changed that offense, and we talked about it on this show last week with Nussmeier and the Heisman. I think that's now dead as well after the performance he put up in that game. So, you know what though? If material change, I didn't know that A&M was just going to completely change quarterbacks at halftime, because at halftime I was feeling good. I was like, hell yeah, yes. LSU. And, it is what it is. And now that A&M team, they have a legitimate chance to go to the SEC championship. They still got to play Texas, obviously, but
this week at South Carolina.
Oh yeah, I have that. That's one of the games on my card.
I've been chasing Carolina. I was chasing the 3 for a little bit. I got a little bit spooked on that game, so it's not. But if anyone out there wants to, I would highly recommend taking the Gamecocks if you can find a 3.
Their defensive line is South Carolina's is awesome.
Yep.
So
it's a good environment down there. I really like the Gamecocks in a game where a little bit of a letdown coming in, but not too much of a letdown because of what the Gamecocks have done this year. They've done pretty well, so I don't think they're going to take them too lightly. But getting 3 points at home, I like it. But we can get to those games in a little bit.
Yeah, and then my Wolverines pulled it out against Sparty. It was not pretty. It was an ugly, ugly game. But I was very happy with, I was texting everyone that I was texting two of my buddies that are like hardcore Michigan fans during the game. I was just shocked by the offense. Like the offense, there was actual like creativity in the offense, which I hadn't seen all year. Like we saw a halfback pass. We
Yep.
saw him scheming Colston Loveland open versus just him running and out. And how they're now like shuttling in and out the two quarterbacks. It's working. I don't know what MSU was doing on that last drive because Michigan ran the same QB counter with the same motion and everything twice, and MSU just didn't defend it. So that was strange. And also that was the best Orgy has looked running the ball all year.
Well, when you take the pressure off throwing the ball, that's what that guy does. He's a wildcat. I mean, that is all he can do, and we can take any pressure off. The guy, Taysom Hill, down in New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's who he is. And when we took this game on the show, we both agreed that this over would be going towards the over if there was pick sixes, but just
Turnovers.
the opposite. The trick plays, the Michigan offense getting creative, and then the Michigan offense not being able to stop some of what Michigan State was doing with the run and stuff. Kind of threw this game off. This is a game I would take under again. I would take 100%. It under even at a lower number. This was an under game. I'm not mad at this bet at all.
No, me either. I mean, really, the turnover was huge for that over under because MSU had that turnover right before the end of half.
Yes.
And that kind of, first of all, Michigan took the lead off of that. And second of all, like those 3 points were huge for the over under. I wouldn't have won my bet, but, so on to the NFL though.
Ooh. Well,
Detroit's a wagon. The Lions are a wagon. They hit the over on their own.
Yeah.
So that was never really in doubt.
I'm going to tell you, Blake, I'm getting good at it. When I'm not hitting unders, it is because one of the teams went over the number themselves. And the Lions, look, how are you going to hit an under when the quarterback has 50 yards passing and there's 42 points on the board? Are you kidding me right now?
Special teams, man.
Come on.
Special teams. I mean, when you have that many return yards, that's like the amount of return yards, obviously, it's been talked about everywhere, every which way, was incredible. Detroit's just legit. They're obviously very good at football. Philly smoked my Bengals.
Another wrong side for me. Not even close.
Yeah, I mean, it was close in the first half, and then Philly just kind of broke it open in that third quarter, and it was dead.
I'm telling you, everyone out there, yourself, you've got to get a hold of and listen to Mike Lombardi's the GM Shuffle podcast. First of all, he talks like the F-bombs that this guy drops when he's talking. It cracks me up because you listen to him on other shows and he's straight-laced. But he talks about Zach Taylor and the way he coaches this team. And the players aren't soft, but they don't practice. They play soft. And Philly came out and out-physicaled them in this game. And he talked a lot about it after the game, and it made sense. And Zach Taylor's got to go for Cincy to be good.
It's a shame. I think he's a good coach, but yeah, I mean they have to change something. Obviously.
He did a whole thing on if Mike Tomlin was coaching Cincinnati.
Yeah, they probably they would cover as dogs every time.
Yep.
By the way, we'll get to that game in a second because I'm still angry about that. Washington, we got very lucky on this one.
That was the wrong side.
Oh man, what? Okay, I don't think that there was a right side either, though. That game was disgusting.
This is true, but we won this bet, and something happened in this game, Blake, that has not one time or 5 times happened in NFL history. Has never happened in NFL history. A guy went back and looked and tried to find a time at the goal line that a team handed off to a backup offensive tackle that has never touched the ball.
Yeah.
So he's never touched the ball like that. That's the first time in NFL history that they did that. Zach Taylor's got to go. Eberflus has got to go.
Eberflus is gone.
People are betting hard-earned money on this crap. That was ridiculous.
Eberflus, you know he's done when there was players on his own team like calling him out.
Yeah.
Like there was players saying like, I don't understand the defense we were playing on the play before the Hail Mary. I don't understand the play call at the goal line. We're like all this stuff. And obviously the player like waving to the fans as the guy that he was supposed to be defending, that the guy waving to the fans, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, the corner.
Yeah.
His man caught the touchdown. It was horrible. So, but we won that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Did that line end up flipping though? Close to game time when what's his name?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
They went off as a short favorite.
Okay. So yeah, I mean that's great too. We got some closing line.
Oh, absolute value.
San Fran, they won. They looked great. I'm completely drawing a blank on who they even played. That feels like forever ago.
Holy Lord in heaven, Dallas. So
yeah, this game shouldn't have even been this close.
These two games, the Sunday night and the Monday night game, I went to bed at halftime. All right, and I had the under here on the show bet. And I also had the under in the Monday night game in my account, and I had the Giants. These games were all not even close. I had the Dallas in my account too. I'm thinking I'm going to bed. I'm at least splitting, right? I mean, these games were 9-6 at the half, and they both go over, and there's no cover for the dog. Are you kidding me? I would take those bets again. I'm not mad. I go 1-4, and I'm not mad at a bunch of these bets. I mean, that's just terrible.
But New York should have pushed. Well, I had bet it at 6. I know we had it here at 6.5. Yeah. New York should have covered. Did you see the 2-point play?
I did not. I went to bet at half. But here's the thing though. I also turned it off. I turned the game on because I wanted to watch it. And all I heard was the touchdown got called back, and that's the 6th penalty called on this drive on the Giants. I can't take penalties anymore. I turned the game off.
Okay, so but that wasn't even the worst thing. We had this cover. Okay, yep. Giants scored a touchdown in the 4th. They were down 14, and I had actually tweeted because Shep had tweeted. Shout out Shep. He said, why did the Giants go for 2 there? And the reason you go for 2 when you're down 2 scores is analytics say, first of all, if you get it the first time, then you score again, you only have to kick an extra point and you win the game outright.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I actually love it. You're a numbers guy. How do you hate it?
Because if you I know what, take your analytics, which I get it. Take your analytics and show me in history how many times this has fucking worked. It doesn't.
It's worked. It works.
Give it to me. Give it to me versus the times when they kick the extra point, kicks the extra point, and end up winning.
Also, though, for the Giants, you don't want to play an OT.
No,
like you're outclassed completely by Pittsburgh.
So this would make more sense to me. Like you kick the extra point, then you score, and you're like, because I've seen it and actually rooted for it because I've won some bets on it. Like Harbaugh does that a lot in Baltimore. He's known that. I get it. You're going for the win. You've got to get that first extra point first, and then you go for this when you're actually doing it. And you're saying OT's too much of an unknown.
Okay, but Okay, so the point of the story is the 2-point play. They
Yes.
ran, which this play, if for whatever reason it's like hot in the streets right now in both college and NFL, the swinging gate play where you have
so
like your
this is
whole,
the swinging gate play I've been hearing about.
yeah. So their whole O line was out to the left of Daniel
Okay.
Jones, and Neighbors was lined up out there as a receiver behind them all, and then they had like two guys to the right and like two offensive linemen or whatever. There was only I think 2 or 3 Steelers out there on the linemen. They had it. Like it was gonna be an easy walk-in 2-point conversion. Daniel Jones quick snaps the ball, the offensive linemen do not move. And the Steelers linebacker, I think it's Highsmith, just like they didn't even touch him. He just slips right between them and bats the ball down. 2-point conversion dead.
See, I heard about the play listening to some podcasts, but I thought they were saying it was a third down play.
No, it was a 2-point conversion. And
That's
I was motherfucking my TV when this happened.
I get it,
because it was going to be a cover. It was at least going to be a cover for me. The spread that I had it at, because I bet it Sunday, it was going to be a push. So I was like, that's fine, because at that point the under was dead. So, and I had both.
Yep.
So I was like, at least give me a push. Nothing. No. And then it was just, yeah. And then I live bet the Dodgers game 4, and their manager just gave up when they were only down 2 runs. It was a brutal couple nights. And then I should have live bet the Dodgers last night, because I sent you the text. I live bet them game 3.
Yeah, it's game 3.
It was live bet them game 3. Like I got them at like plus 250, something like that. And I was like, this is great.
For a pretty boring World Series overall, being 3-1, there was some exciting moments in there. I mean, some late night, some late inning grand slams and stuff. But I don't want to get Eric too excited. So,
real quick, can we just see the scoreboard before we, or do you have something else you want to say before that?
No. What do we got?
I was just gonna our overall records
for
the season.
You're coming on hot. You're catching me.
Because I keep spraying the board like I am.
And I keep getting jail sex by the NFL on these bets. And so, and with that, that's a perfect intro to, I know we don't want to go too long, but I've got to go over this. So I'm struggling here. I'm 2-8 in the NFL show bets. And why, Mike? Why are you 2-8 when there's these games that I normally don't take? The games I'm taking, I'm barely getting by. Like I'm telling you, every time I text you on a Saturday, it's like by the skin of my teeth, I'm getting by. So totals the last 3 weeks are 26-17 to the over. That's not good for me, because we know, as you
everyone
called
loves
me today,
betting overs.
And what did you call me today? The Undertaker.
Yes.
This overs are not good for me. That's not good. The last 4 weeks, favorites are 36-21 against the spread. That's not good for me, because I love me some dogs. When you're talking about the pro side, they're usually finding values in those dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now to get into that even more, the last 3 weeks, favorites of 5.5 points or more are 12-4 against the spread.
Wow.
So this gets to that question of, is parity dead in the NFL? And if it's dead in the NFL, it's going to be real good for the public. It's going to be very bad for Mike. And we can ask the same thing in NCAA, but I believe the transfer portal has opened up parity in the NCAA. And so I keep asking myself, Mike, why are you struggling in the NFL now and doing so well in the NCAA? I think it's that parity question. I think parity is gone in the NFL. So now we've got these uppers and these lowers, and these favorites are covering a lot. The bad teams are bad. The good teams are good.
You know what? I'm going to give you an assignment.
All right.
If you could do this for me. Those statistics, can you look at AFC versus NFC? Because I think in the NFC, you don't have to do this right now. You could have it ready for
and
next
you can
week.
text me. I'm looking for my pen right now just to write it down. All right.
But because in the NFC, I think there is still parity. The AFC is super top heavy. Like there's 3, maybe 4 good teams in the AFC. The bottom of the AFC is horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 8 bad teams in the AFC. I think I was looking at the standings earlier. I'll pull them back up. There's, I want to say 8 teams that have 2 wins right now in the AFC.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of bad teams.
And that's a problem when it comes to betting. What I want people to do out there, if just amuse me for 1 week, try to bet kind of like I do and bet dogs and unders. And I want you to go find some dogs and some unders and say, oh, I'm going to lay money on that. I'm confident in that. I'm going to fire on that because let's say you're like, oh, I like big dogs this week, Blake. Jacksonville, 7.5 points. Vegas, 7 points. Carolina, 7.5 points. Miami, 6 points. Guess what? Good luck. They're 10-21 against the spread this year.
And hang on. So I think you might have just proven my point, though. So 7 of the 16 teams are in the AFC. Okay. List those teams again.
This week. Oh, and there's another one, but it's Jacksonville, Vegas, AFC, Carolina,
AFC, NFC,
and Miami.
AFC.
And the biggest dog of the week, Denver.
Yeah.
But they're doing NFC. Well. But are you going to trust Bo Nix?
They're AFC.
Too.
Yeah.
Denver's actually 6-2 against the spread, getting 9 points. But are you going to trust Bo Nix?
I always think that Denver's NFC because of how often they play the Lions. It's just they play. I feel like they play the Lions like every other year. But yeah, I mean, think about all those teams you just listed. There's only one NFC team.
Yeah.
So
I need parity. I'm going over these bets, and how many times do I text you on a Monday or Tuesday, Blake? And I'm like, I got nothing. I can't. I can't do this. I can't do like I'm looking and I'm like, how am I doing this? And it's so bad when we get into our NFL show bets, Blake. I'm not kidding you. I am. Look at my shirt. Don't be afraid to fade yourself. I'm fading myself, and I'm going public on my NFL bets on the show this week, except for the ones that are in my accounts. I ain't screwing around with that. And
just real quick, one other thing with that. Out of those dogs, you know what the one team I would maybe take a flyer on? It's the NFC. It's the NFC team, the Panthers, because they're playing the Saints.
I have one of those too. I took one of them, and it ain't. Did I only take one of them? Yeah, I only took one of them. I was looking at Miami. It got a little too wonky for me, and I think Miami. But I did. We've talked about this. Other teams you won't bet this week, Blake. It's getting to that point to where I backed off of a few bets.
And your Houston Cougars won last week.
How about that? Just when we thought they would.
Oklahoma. Yeah, but it was Oklahoma State. Another one of our teams that we deaded.
Oh, jeez. So, yeah, I've got one of those. I've got one of those teams, and I bet it. I have to bet it. I have to stay strong. But I'm not lying. I did back off of a couple bets this week, but that's enough of that talk. Let's get into a couple of trends. Let's get into a couple of trends for our show bets here before we get started. These are all speaking of those Miami Dolphins, one of the softest teams that I think are out there. You look at their coach and you know why they're soft.
It's the candy ass uniform.
DJ. He looks like a freaking DJ. Miami and Buffalo are 8-1-1 to the over in the last 10 meetings. So you know who the public's all over, right?
The over.
They're going to be all on the over. And you know what Mike's going to take on that show bet, but that's to be determined. How about some Lion trends? These are really looking good for the Lions if you like the Lions in our show bet. The Lions are 14-2 against the spread after a double-digit win. Boom. The Lions are 19-5. This is impressive because this is not usual Lions. 19-5 against the spread versus teams with a winning record in their last 24. That's pretty good. overall, NFL teams on 5-game winning streaks like the Lions since 2003 are 65% against the spread. So maybe I can entice you in taking the Lions this week. NCAA, we love that 2 ranked teams bet, right?
Mm-hmm.
This week, we've got 2 of our show bets. Penn State at home getting 3.5 against Ohio State. We'll see who we're taking. SMU minus 7.5 against Pitt. I might have an actual bet in that game. And then here's another show bet, just for giggles here. Clemson is on a 6-0 ATS, 8-0 straight up win streak against who? Louisville. Boom, boom, boom. And Klubnik's looking good.
I know. And they're at home, and he always looks better at home.
Yep. And Aaron Rodgers.
I was going to do that because I was debating between that game and the A&M South Carolina game. Like, it was those two. But I was like, I feel like we've done so many SEC games this year. We'll just give the ACC some love. And it's still a great matchup. That wasn't my Louisville bias coming through, because I think I'm done with them. But
all right.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into this. The Undertaker is ready.
The Undertaker is ready. That's a tease of all teases. All right, game 1, game of the week. Another just this is another top 5 matchup in the Big Ten. Ohio State's going to Happy Valley. Penn State. Ohio State is favored by 2.5 on the road. Over under 45.5. I will start. This is clearly just a spite bet, but I don't care. I'm very worried about it, though, because of Aller. If Aller doesn't play, but then again, we saw what backup quarterbacks can do with A&M last week. I'm taking Penn State. Give me Penn State plus the points at home in Happy Valley. The one time that they've won this rivalry, this is a matchup of 2 coaches that can't win the big one.
Yep.
Okay, Ryan Day's 1-7 in his last 8 games against top 5 opponents, and Franklin only has 1 win in his career at Penn State against top 5 teams. And that 1 win was Ohio State at Ohio State, the blocked field goal game, and Saquon just went off for him in that game. Yeah. So I'm going to take Penn State. I believe in their run game, and I also have a lot of doubts about Ohio State's offensive line and their toughness. Shocker, Ohio State, not a tough team.
Oof, woof. And honestly, Penn State would probably be in my account if the quarterback was healthy. And I liked what the backup did, but he did what a backup has to do. Come in when a team doesn't have film on you, fill in and do your job. I'd be a little bit worried, but I can see
he is a better runner,
there.
which could add something to that offense.
All right. I'm going after the total here. I'm not looking at side. I'm looking at the total here. And when the public looks at this game, Blake, they're going to see 2 offenses that are ranked in the top 50. They score 73 points a game combined. OSU alone is scoring 40 points a game. That's all the public needs to see. They think this is going to be an easy over. However, despite 70% of the bets are on the over, this line opened up at 48 and has slowly dropped down to where we have it at 45.5. Why would the books make it easier for the public to cover? That is because with 30% of the bets, 48% of the money, that's a sharp split. The books and the pros are on this under. Give me the under at 45.5 with 2 top 15 defenses. Remember last year, this was an ugly, in the trenches, slobber knocker game. I see a very similar game this week.
Yeah. Next game. Oregon going to the Big House. Oregon is favored by 14.5. The over-under in this game as well is 45.5. Oregon is wearing, I don't know if you saw this. I follow on Twitter like all of Oregon stuff because they post a lot of cool stuff about their uniforms and everything. Oregon is wearing somewhat throwbacks to when they came into the Big House with Dennis Dixon in 2007.
Yeah.
And just ran all over Michigan. They're basically wearing throwbacks to that game.
I love gamesmanship.
So that's an incredible thing. And their uniforms are awesome, obviously. But Mike, I'll let you go ahead and go first on this
I'm
one.
changing my bet. I'm taking Oregon on the alt line minus 30.5.
Just a strictly uniform bet. I agree.
It's a uniform bet. All right, seriously. All right, I'm going on the total again here. The public sees the number 1 ranked Oregon Ducks team scoring 30 points a game. A Michigan team that really struggled to stop that Michigan State run, and they were struggling. They think this is an easy over. They think it's so easy. 90% of the bets are on this over. However, Blake, I don't know if it's moved. This line opened 45.5. It's sticking at 45.5. The books are going to need this game to come under huge. And you know who I love to bet with? It's the books. I'm taking the under 45.5, and I'm banking on Michigan's defense stepping up and Oregon's 18th ranked defense stepping up and stopping up Michigan.
I have bad news.
Why is Stroud down?
That's not the bad news, but I have bad news.
I
think I think Oregon's going to put up like 50.
That could be. That could be. That is a risk you take with them playing with their food and making a statement coming in here to Michigan.
To the big house. Yep. Playing
100%.
against last year's national champs. I'm taking Oregon minus the 14.5. I'm just being honest with myself. I'm being honest with our listeners and our viewers. Oregon, I think, is right now playing the best football in the country. And I don't feel great about this game. I don't feel great about Michigan's defense in this game. I think the offense showed some improvement and showed some life last week, and that's great. Oregon is way too deep on both sides of the ball and on both lines of scrimmages. I think that Oregon has a huge advantage, and obviously quarterback play Oregon has a huge advantage. So I will take Oregon minus the 14.5, and I would not be shocked if I took, like you joked about alt line. I'm not joking. I might take some alt line on this, like 19.5.
I'm hoping that this becomes a game. I'm really hoping maybe we saw some stuff, whether it goes over or under. Again, these show bets, we're having some fun here. These are just leans. If I had a gun to my head and I had to, this is what I'm hoping. I am hoping. Well, I know for a fact my wife's out of town. I know for a fact I'm having my grand dog over. Nellie's coming over. I'm probably going to put her in a Michigan jersey. We're going to sit out on the back deck in the freezing cold. I'm making a steak on the grill, and I hope that this is a ball game. Yeah. I hope Michigan makes Oregon earn it if they have it and make this a game that I want to watch.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to be completely wrong about this game.
Yeah. It's got to be an under game for that to happen. If this game goes over, 100%. Blake, Oregon minus 30.
Yeah, I agree. Next game, I think it's the world's largest cocktail party is what the nickname is. They don't use that anymore, which is a damn shame. They just call it the Florida-Georgia rivalry.
I'm sure it offended somebody because they know the joke, my cock, your tail.
Georgia's favored by 16. This is a neutral site game for those new to this rivalry. The over-under is 52.5. Mike is the Undertaker for this show, but I am also going to take the under on this one. Under 52.5, easy. Florida is starting to show some life this season. I think Lagway, just taking that job has helped them. Florida's schedule in the next 5 weeks is murderer's row.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll pull it up real quick while you're talking about this game. Their schedule the rest of the season is absolutely brutal. Besides the Florida State game, that's their only guaranteed win down the stretch. So I like the under. I wouldn't hate Florida plus the 16, but the one thing I feel very confident in is the under in this game.
Yes. If you did go on that side and took Florida, feel good that you are on a sharp side. The problem is I think there's 2 sharp sides to this game, and that scared me off of it. I was tracking Florida probably up until Wednesday when that line started to go towards Georgia, and I don't mess with that. So I'm sticking with the total here. The public sees Georgia. The last time they seen them, they really handled Texas. In Florida, this is a team that's really coming on. Like you said, maybe they got some life. Maybe they're starting to play for something. So they see that. And 92% of the people, not 92% of the people, but the bets are 92% of the money are on the over, Blake, here. When 92% of the money from the public is on a side, you know the books are going to need it. This, again, is a game I would never touch, but it opened 52.5. This game stayed at 52.5. This game has not moved up with 92% of the money on that side. I'm going under with you. I love this under 52.5.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all that many people would be betting the over in this game.
But let's think about this. When you go through and you pick these games, Blake, you're picking the Michigan game, obviously, maybe a Michigan State game, but the other games are
the big
TV games and the big games that the public are watching. And when the public watches a game, they say, I've got to bet. And when I say these things, I don't mean it as a rip on the public, because the public's kicking my ass in the NFL, but they look at the overs and they look at the favorites. So this is a game, and
92 just seems like a very high amount,
right? But this is a game that this game screams over. But someone like myself, someone like you, that if there's one thing we know is the over and some extra points are cooked into this line already, and that's why it's sitting there. And the books are saying we're going to take that 92%. Let's go, baby.
All right, real quick, just so that you know. This week, Florida has Georgia, the number 2 team in the country. Next week, Florida has Texas, which is the number 6 team in the country. Oh, and then the week after that, just an easy home game against LSU. And then the week after that, they have Ole Miss, who's currently the number 19 team in the country. And then their last game, like I said, is that Florida State game. So their 4 next games are all top 20 teams.
That's murderer's row.
They have a crazy schedule, and they have, and like I said, they have to go to Texas. So it's a tough schedule coming down the stretch for the Gators. But yeah, I like the under here. Next game, Pitt and SMU. Pitt is going to SMU. Top 25 game that if you asked me after week 0, there's no way in hell I thought SMU would ever be ranked. But here they are. Yep. This is probably I know for a fact this is a huge game for the ACC, because really the ACC right now is a 4-team race, and after this game it'll probably go down to a 3-team race. Yeah. You got Clemson, you got Miami, you got Pitt, and you got SMU. SMU 7.5 point favorites at home in Dallas. The over-under here is 58.5. Mike, you go ahead and get us started on this one.
All right. And this one is dead on serious. I have this one in my account, and I didn't, and this is why I love these show bets too, is because I did not have this in my account because there's so many college games. I can't go over 120 sides and 120 totals. I'd never work. Dearborn would hate me and fire me. So I go through the sides. The totals I don't go over in college until I get these games. And this is one I ended up on the total here, because the public's looking at this game, like they're going to see 2 top 20. Who would have thought Pitt, a top 20 scoring offense in college football, right? They combined for, get this number, Blake, 69 points last week. That's nice. Right, baby. Nice. However, despite 84% of the bets on this over, it opened at 58.5. No, it opened at 59.5. My bad. It has gone as low as 58. We've got it at 58.5 here. I'm taking the under. The books are taking the under. I'm going to side with the books. I like both defenses in this side too. Not only when the public looks at stuff, offense, because it's pretty, right? Chicks dig the long ball. Both of these defenses, they're not great. They're not good, but they're respectable, and they could stop each other in a big, big ball game.
Yep. You know what? I think Pitt's the better football team, and I'm getting a full touchdown.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take Pitt plus the 7.5 at SMU. I know on the road, but still a full touchdown. I think that these are two very evenly rated teams. I'm sure if I was to look up power ratings for both of these teams, this is probably too big of a spread for that. And I like what Pitt's done offensively, and you're 100% right. Like Pitt has a very like competent defense.
Yep.
Narduzzi, obviously, like we know from his Michigan State days, like he coaches defense well. Like they're gonna compete and everything like that. And SMU has been, I know that they only have one loss in the season, but early in the season they were very up and down. I like Pitt in this spot plus the 7.5. It's a full touchdown. This could easily be a touchdown or a field goal game. So,
yeah.
And last, but certainly not least, Louisville is going to Clemson. Clemson is 11.5 point favorites. The over under here is 63.5. Just real quick before I tell you the side, there's another bet that I was going to bring up later in the show. I'll just bring it up right now just to get it out of the way real quick because it's not one that we would normally put on a card. I like Clemson team total over 37.5. Their team total, I think, has only not hit once in the last 5 weeks. So, and it missed by like a half a point that one time. So I like Clemson's team total there, 37.5. But for the game, for the show, I will take Clemson minus the 11.5 at home. They've just been rolling since that Georgia game. They've really figured a lot of stuff out offensively, and they're defensively, they're very athletic and they have a great D line. So
yeah. And like we said, Klubnik's looking good. I mean, his name's up there in the Heisman list, and he's going up there. I mean, it's a long shot, but his name is on there. Far cry from where we were in the beginning of the year. That is for sure. It makes me sad that you're off your Louisville train, but that happens, right? And it takes a strong person to jump off that train, especially minus 11.5. That's a big jump off that train, right?
Yep.
But again, I think if you look at the board here, you know where I'm going. I'm going after the total in this game. I'm going after the total in this game. It's another inflated line. The public's looking at this, and the books know it. They see the number 4 ranked Clemson offense scoring 42 points a game, 48 and 49 points specifically the last 2 weeks. Louisville scored 31 and 35 their last 2 weeks. They think this is going to be an easy over. However, despite 61% of those public bets on the over, the pro money has dropped this number as low as 61 in some places. So we're going to take it. I'm taking it at 63.5. I love it. Late Steam has pushed this up. Hey, this may even go higher on game day. That once the public gets a hold of this thing, it might go a little bit higher, but I'm taking under 63.5. I have something marked under this. I do not advise taking this under. This is my system. I see this one. I'll take this one for the show. I'll take it for the team under 63.5.
All right.
Boom.
The under. Oh, look at that graphic. God, you're putting in overtime over there. Look at that.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
Todd's the best. Todd's the best in the biz. Anybody that denies that, you can die. Can I say that on YouTube, Todd? Maybe. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. We love Todd. We want to put Todd to bed. And I know you've got a ton of NCAA bets. I've got a few here. I want to rip through these. I actually tried to shorten this up. So we already talked about I got the Pitt SMU under. I'm going to the Akron Buffalo game here. All right. Why? I don't know, because this team actually stinks. The public sees Buffalo with the better record. Akron is awful on defense. They're awful on offense. The public sees an easy cover with this short spread. However, with 72% of the bets, this line has actually dropped from 2.5 to 1.5 in Akron's favor. I'm siding with the books and some sharp reverse line movement. 28% of the bets with Akron, but 79% of the money, Blake. Money don't lie. I'm taking it. This one is one where I'll probably lose because it doesn't make sense. Blake, how does this game make sense? Stanford and NC State. I don't know how NC State's favored against anybody, but anyways, I get it. They had a nice win last week. I get
Time
it.
zones. Don't forget about time zones.
I know. Hey, the public sees that. The public sees NC State just had a nice win at Cal going to the West Coast, right? So tell me about time zones over there. But hey, the West Coast can't play on the East Coast. Didn't. And again, I could be messing this up. I thought Stanford won in Syracuse. I'm just saying. It was in Syracuse, right?
Yes.
Thank you. So it does happen. It's kind of even, though. 52% of these bets are what it is with them. So if it's kind of even like that, 50% of the bets, this line shouldn't move. It's moved a little bit. It came off that 10.5. It's been as low as 9.5. I caught it at 10. I took the Cardinal, getting 10 points. Now, here's a game, Blake. No one's watching this game, and no one's betting on this game. However, the UMass Mississippi State game.
Oh,
I didn't even know how to write this one up. So I've got the public sees, get this. The public sees a hard fighting Mississippi team. This is what makes sense is Mississippi State plays in what conference? The SEC, a hard conference. They're playing ass kicking teams every week. UMass isn't, right? So Mississippi State isn't winning, but they're playing some tough teams. However, 81% of the bets are on Mississippi State. This split is 50-50 of money, though. So again, this is something that shouldn't move. UMass has gone from 22.5 to 18.5. I've seen it as low as 18. I usually don't like taking that 4-point dip, but I'm taking UMass plus 18.5. I don't advise taking this bet because it's ugly. There's two kinds of people that have bet on this game: Mississippi State alum and professional bettors, because that line should not move that much in this game, but it did.
Yeah.
Another one.
The game is so gross.
I've got to have one of those in there, right? So just as we're thinking that, I'm going to get a little grosser, I'm going to go with the Troy Coastal Carolina game, another game that's probably not even televised anywhere except for on like PBS somewhere.
That's some AAC action. I love that shit.
All right. So Coastal Carolina is the better team. They got the better record. Troy is actually on a 4-game losing streak. They think this is going to be an easy cover. However, with 70% of the bets on Coastal Carolina, this line dropped from 5 to 4.5. I'll take the reverse line movement. I got Troy plus 5 against Coastal Carolina.
Mike's a Troy boy.
Hey, guess what? Now I've actually got a real game I'm betting on here. I'm going to the Washington USC game. If you've listened to this podcast, you know where I'm going with this one because I love the home field advantage in Washington, right? Public sees sees USC won against Rutgers, pounded them, right? Put that one to bed. Yep. Washington lost by 14. Yes, you did. Washington lost by 14 to an Indiana team who is for real. That's a good team, backup quarterback stomping Washington. 78% of the bets are on USC. A majority of the money is on USC. However, this line opened at 3 and it's dropped down to 2.5. If you hold out, you can find that 3. I got them at 3. The books are going to need Washington. I'm taking Washington, and I love that home field advantage. I think they win. You might even want to take them on the money line here. I love this bet. Sounds more.
Sounds like me with BYU last week.
Right? Yeah, for sure. Boom. Nailed it. And this is a Blake special because I double dipped on this one. I'm going to UTSA in Memphis. Memphis is traveling down there to UTSA. The public is looking at this one, and they see Memphis 7-1. This is going to be an easy cover against UTSA. They also see, hey, I think there's going to be some points. These guys can score some points. But Memphis D is kind of good. I think the 7-1 Memphis D could shut down UTSA. They kind of get shut down at times against better teams, and they actually have a decent defense at times. So they think this game's going over. 79% of the bets are on Memphis. However, this line dropped from 10.5 to 7.5, Blake. That's a huge drop. The pros are all over UTSA. I took UTSA at 7 in the hook at home. The public is split on that over-under. Like, hey, a lot of points can be scored, but I think Memphis is going to shut them down. However, this line opened at 60, I've seen it as high as 60-2. I'm actually going over 61.5, baby. No more Undertaker. Over 61.5.
I love it. All right, I'll roll through mine real quick. Duke plus 20.5 at Miami.
Okay.
This is strictly just because Duke's head coach used to be the head coach at Miami. It's a revenge spot for him.
I like it.
So
I like it. The
20 and a half. Miami's been kind of wonky the last few weeks. I know that they won by a decent margin last week, but obviously we saw them, that Virginia Tech game, and then that Cal game, all of that. But 20 and a half is a lot of points.
The funny thing is looking at that, I had Miami marked. They were taking some sharp money for a little bit. So I was like, oh man, I don't know if I've ever taken a 20.5 point. Like I'm like, ooh. So I'm glad it kind of slipped a little bit.
I think it's just too many points. Northwestern at Purdue under 45. Northwestern unders. And Purdue, I know they had the close game against Illinois and they put up a bunch of points, but besides that, not good. This is a guaranteed auto bet for me, no matter what. And I will tell you why.
It's got to be an Academy's under.
It is. we have the Air Force at Army.
And it's in the 40s.
41 and a half.
Oh, God, yeah.
41 and a half. So since 2000, where is it? Since 2006, between 2006 and 2017, the under went 29-8 with an average of 42.1 points scored in Service Academy games. That number has changed a little bit in the last few years since then, but still these unders are usually easy. Like I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but no matter what, Army Navy, when that game comes up, it's not even a question what I'm going to be taking in that game. It is a under every single time. In this game, especially Air Force at Army under 41.5. I love that bet. Illinois plus 2.5 against Minnesota. I don't know why Illinois is getting points.
I agree with that. That was another strange one that I seen.
Because I even looked it up to see like injury wise what's going on. Like is Altmaier out? I know they got beat up at Oregon, but the quarterback's still playing, and I think Altmaier is a good player. So I'll take them plus the 2.5 against Minnesota, and I don't think anything of Minnesota. Vandy plus 7.5 at Auburn. Vandy's gonna stay in every game. They're a good football team. Auburn, I don't think is a good football team. So I will take them, even though it's on the road in the SEC. I will still take them plus the 7.5. K-State minus 12.5 at Houston. Houston got their win last week. They ain't getting another one. K-State's going to roll. Nebraska minus 6.5 against UCLA. Nebraska played Ohio State tight last week. Obviously, that I had that over, and it never was even close. But UCLA stinks. So it's less than a touchdown. Indiana minus 7.5 at MSU. Indiana is a wagon. I don't care who they're playing. They play Ohio State in a couple pretty soon here. I think it might be next week, actually. Next week or the week after. So I will keep rolling with Indiana. A game you brought up. Washington plus 2.5 against USC. I love Washington in that spot. I agree 100% with you. Like I said, Clemson team total over 37.5. I really like that one. South Carolina plus 3.5 against Texas A&M. I agree. We talked about that game a little bit earlier. I think it'll be a tight game. South Carolina's defensive line is very, very good, and we'll keep that game close. And last but not least, Nevada plus 2.5 against Colorado State.
All right. I like
it.
I was looking at that one.
Two teams that we have just battled about this year.
Yes, but that is a game that I was on it to the last second, and I ended up on double dipping on that UTSA game instead. But I love that bet. And again, for those out there watching us, or they're going to watch it on the replay, I'm at 56% on these NCAA bets right here. Get some of these plays in. Get them early. Wait for some lines. We'll tell you if they stink. We'll tell you if they're good. Tail Blake on some of these. But let's go.
on those picks last week, I just looked. I went 6-3 for my college pick last week.
I was 5-3,
including a money line in there with BYU.
So here's the thing: I was 5-3. That's 11-6 because we are rarely on the same side in these bets because we're so random. That's 11-6. That's quite a good return. That's up some units there for these people out here that are a little shaky. Remember, do not go after our show bets. Show bets are stinky. Real bets.
Some of my show bets you can go after because I bet those too. So, but I agree. The ones that we're throwing out at the end there, those are the ones to really be watching. On to the NFL. Of course, we're at an hour 5. Todd's gonna come to my house and kill me.
We're gonna get better at this. We're gonna get better. I promise to fly through this because I'm going public, baby.
Buffalo is playing Miami. Buffalo is at home against Miami. And Buffalo is favored by 5.5. The over-under is 49.5. I was like looking at my numbers and looking at the screen. Sorry. I am going to take the Buffalo Bills minus the 5.5. I know Tua is back. The offense there in Miami's offense did look a hell of a lot better with Tua, but I think Buffalo is just one of the 3 best teams in the AFC. Yes. I really do. They're really starting to roll. And now that with Amari Cooper really learning that offense and getting more and more involved, I like Buffalo a lot less than a touchdown. So
yeah, I would agree with that one. But I am on the total on this one again. And I got to have a disclaimer before we get started. I'm 2-8 my last 2 weeks in NFL show bets. I'm well aware of this. So I'm going to go spooky. Just for Halloween, I'm going to be spooky. I am fading myself. I'm going to bet the exact opposite of what I would normally bet unless it's in my account. So I'll let you guys know here. In this game, I'm going after the total. I myself would lean on the under here with the sharps split being 36% of the bets, 59% of the money is on the under. That's where I would go. The early move was to the under. However, the public loves trends. I told you what this trend is. 8-1-1 in the over in the last 10. The public sees the Bills, the 5th-ranked offense. They think Tua is good. They think the Cheetah is going to go off for 3. Like out of nowhere, all of a sudden, this guy's just going to be alive and this offense is going to go and this time's going to be tough. So I'm fading myself. I'm siding with the public. Give me the over. Let's get spooky.
Points.
Over 9.5, baby.
Points. I love it.
Spooky.
Life's too short to bet the under, Mike, even though that's all you did in the college.
That's all I tell you what, there's nothing like sweating an under, baby.
The LA Chargers are going to Cleveland. The Chargers are favored by 1.5. The over-under is 42.5. This line doesn't make any sense. But Mike, I will let you, that's where you thrive, is where the line doesn't make sense. So yes, I would love to hear your pick on this game.
This line does not make sense. This is a line. This is a pick that I actually have in my account. So no more spooky for this bet. I'm actually going to tell you what I'm doing here. Look, you know this because you love him too. The public loves Jim Harbaugh. So the public is going to bet on Jim Harbaugh. The Chargers have the better record. They think they're the better team. You know, but they're split. The public is split on this. They don't know what's going on because, hey, Jameis Winston kind of had a nice game. They beat the Ravens. But, hey, it's Jim Harbaugh. We love Jim Harbaugh. We have to bet Jim Harbaugh. He actually held the ball into the end zone. Thank you. So they're split. They don't know where to go. So if the betting is split like that, this line shouldn't move. It opened up at 1.5. It has moved to 2.5. I lied. I just lied. I was going in reverse. It opened up with the Browns getting 2.5, and it's been bet down to 1.5. I'm taking that sharp reverse line movement, that 50% of the bets, but 78% of the money split. I actually have this at 2.5. I would take it at 1.5. I love the Browns in this spot.
You mentioned people that I love. And there's many people that I love. I love my wife. I love you, Mike. I love Todd for dealing with our dumbasses on a weekly basis. I love Jameis Winston. I do. I love his energy. You can say what you want about Jameis. His teammates are going to play hard for him.
Yep.
Unlike Deshaun Watson.
100%.
Give me Cleveland plus the 1.5. I love Jameis Winston. I love the spark that he's provided this team. And, a lot of the talk this week with the Lions has actually been about the defensive end from the Browns, Zadarius Smith. If Cleveland wins this game, how I was just talking about the AFC, I don't think they're selling.
No.
I understand they already shipped off Amari Cooper, but why would you trade away more players when you're right in the thick of things for a wild card spot? Because right now, if the playoffs started today, the wild card team would be the Colts, who you are only 2 games back from.
Yep.
So I like Cleveland in the spot. I would lean under as well, for sure. Just Chargers unders are
Jim Harbaugh's in love. There's guys there. There's guys out there that are allergic to field goals. Jim Harbaugh loves field goals. He'll take field goals. So it's gonna be a low scoring game. I would lean towards that under 2. I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, I think so far this year, 1-6, they've won over the Chargers this year. So
there we go.
Take that for what it's worth. On to the next game. The Detroit Lions are going to the Green Bay Packers. Detroit is favored by 3.5 here. The over-under is 48.5. Detroit's a wagon.
Yep. No doubt.
I don't know if Jordan Love's playing. That's the other thing with this. Even if he's not, I think Malik Willis is serviceable with the coaching that Green Bay has. But I'm just going to take Detroit until they prove me wrong. So Detroit minus the 3.5 on the road. I don't care.
Come on, we had all those trends, right? All the trends leaning towards the Lions, and I was listening to Sean and go ahead.
Yeah, they actually, what I was about to say is something that they brought up at the end of their show because I was watching it as well. The only thing that worries me is the weather. Like Detroit playing outdoors. Jared Goff in his career has never been like a great, like cold, weird weather quarterback, no matter where he's been. So that's the only thing that worries me. But I still like Detroit because they can run the ball too.
Yeah, and that's where I think they're going to go. I think they're going to protect Goff. He even in an easy game last week, he got beat up a little bit. But I went back and looked last year. I think we all think of that Baltimore game. That was that outdoor game. That game really sucked. Not too bad though. Not too bad outdoors, but that's exactly where I'm going to go with my. And when I was listening to Sean and Shep, I'm going to agree with Sean. If Love plays, I think his groin is going to fall out onto the field and flop around just like the alien, like he described. I think this is a Malik Willis game. I don't think it matters. I think Malik Willis has done his job. And I think LaFleur is a serviceable coach. I don't mind him, and he will game plan around him. And I think they're already doing that. But this is a big game for both teams. So I'm going on the total here. I have this actually in my account. This is a serious bet. The public sees these Detroit Lions as the best team in the NFL. And if not one of the best, one of the top 2 or 3 offenses in the league. They just scored 1,000 points against Tennessee, and your quarterback threw for 1 yard. I mean, come on. These guys are going to be good. Green Bay's offense, not too shabby. They are loving this over. They're all over it. How much are they all over it? Let me see. Where's my split? Look at this. It doesn't even matter. The quarterback is all I wrote. They think this is going to be an easy over. This line opened up at 48.5. The pro money has hit it. It's dropped down to 46.5. I apologize. I don't have numbers. I'm taking the pro side here. I'm taking the Lions outside. I'm taking a little bit of weather. I'm taking an inflated line here. Only 19% of the bets. So do the math. You're the math guy. If 19% of the bets are on the under, how many are on the over?
1981.
Boom. 81% of the bets. If 81% of the bets are on the side, why is it going the other way? It's because the books and the pros are on a side and they're on the under. I got under 48.5.
Also, totals have gone over in one of Packers' 4 last games at home. That's actually crazy. Because especially totals have gone over in 3 of the Packers' last 5 games. They're just a road over team.
Road over team. Well, hey, they're a home under team, and the Lions have to play a good road team. The offensive line is going to have to travel and play and protect Goff and do a good job run blocking. And let's get a lot of runs in this game.
Yep. Next game, Sunday Night Football. Joe Flacco starting again for the Colts, which is awesome. I think that makes that team much better. They are going to Minnesota. The Vikings are favored by 5.5. The over-under here is 46.5. Mike, you go ahead and get us started on this one.
Flacco in is better, but the way he got put in, I don't know if that's a great situation, right? I mean, I could say, Blake, I could get up and walk away from this podcast right now because I'm too tired.
That's true.
That is why Joe Flacco is in. If that didn't happen, they would be marching Richardson right back out there and telling you that they give you the best chance to win. But that's a whole nother thing. I'm glad Flacco's in. However,
he's the better quarterback right now.
100%. If he's in, they win. They win. I've been saying that they win last week. I mean, what are we doing here? They covered. I like it, but they would have won. They would have liked it.
They would have won.
All right.
Cover. Yeah.
So this is another spooky. I'm fading myself bet. The public sees a Colts team. The quarterback quit. He got benched. They got another quarterback in. He's 100 years old. Last year, Joe Flacco was actually on the what do you call that stupid thing? I was on the couch. He was sitting on his parents' couch watching NFL football when he got called and he became comeback player of the week. They think this is a get right.
True.
They think that this is a get right spot for the Vikings at home. The public loves the Vikings. It's Halloween, so you know who I like. However, if I didn't, I would love the Colts in this spot. Honestly, I would be saying Colts 5.5, but it's Halloween. I'm 2-8 in the last 2 goddamn weeks. I'm going with the public. Give me the Vikings -5.5. What do I know? Happy Halloween. I'm fading myself.
We don't know how many Joe Flacco primetime games we're going to get in the rest of our lifetimes, though. That's the only thing that I'm worried about with that. Joe Flacco just throwing deep balls and getting pass interferences. That's what he does.
He's
I
the
like
king of the underthrow.
And speaking of unders, I'm going to take the under here, 46.5. I really don't like anything in this game. Like, usually I like a lot of these games. Like, that's just me being honest, because I like spraying the board. I don't like anything in this game. But I always tend to lean towards primetime unders, even though I don't think that that's been a winning strategy this year. I got more homework for you. Can you look that up for me for next week?
You send me these.
But yeah, I like the under here, 46.5. I could see this being like a 23-20 Vikings win type deal. So that's what I would do.
All right.
And last but not least for our show picks, Tampa Bay at Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 8.5. The over under here is 45.5. Kansas City, I think, is still, until they lose a game, and they're still the best team in the NFL. I know what people would argue that the Lions are. I still think Kansas City is. You don't get rich betting against Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes at over a touchdown against the spread does not have a great career record against the spread. I think KC wins this game, maybe by a touchdown. I think 8.5 is just too many points for this spot. I will take Tampa plus the 8.5, and Baker will figure it out. That's what he does, even with all their injuries.
Yep, even with the injuries. All right. Here's my last spooky Halloween bet of the day, where I'm fading myself. Sometimes you got to be proud, Blake, and just fade yourself. Let's be honest. The public is sick of Taylor Swift. They're sick of seeing her. They don't want it, so they're not going to bet on. They're not going to bet on Patrick Mahomes. I don't know why, but they're not going to do it. I don't get what they see here because the public is all over the Bucs. I guess KC just can't win them all, and so who knows? And the public wants to be that guy that says, "I told you so" when Kansas City doesn't cover this bet. I myself would lean KC. The professionals are actually, this is one time that Patrick Mahomes and KC is not the public bet. The public bet is the Bucs at 8.5. This line is moved from 7.5 to 8.5. So, hey, look, Blake, the books are making it easier on me. This betting stuff is easy when the line gets bigger. Give me the Bucs plus 8.5. And the only reason I'm not too worried about this one, Blake, is they're going to be up by 14 points, let's say. And it's going to be the fourth quarter. And this is what Kansas City does. I've seen this happen. They are the kings of letting teams backdoor cover. They're going to take the defense takes
happened
the
last week.
Break. Against it. All they want to do is win. They don't give a shit about your 8.5 points. So this will be a backdoor cover somehow by Tampa Bay. The public will revel in it. I am not going 1-4 again. Happy frickin' Halloween.
What did you say the split was on that game real quick?
Boom, 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 boom. KC lines. 59% of the bets are with the Bucs.
That is surprising. I agree with you.
Yeah. I was looking at, again, something else won out, but I was looking at taking Kansas City.
And you know what? That's just shocking because I was like, oh, I feel like everyone's going to be on Kansas City. I thought I was fading the public there.
Yeah.
I outsmarted myself. I wonder if that's what people are doing. You know what I mean? Well, we could, I mean, that's not until Monday night, so we could see a lot of late money come in either way.
But you're onto something there. Like my wife would, your big love is her big hate. She hates Tom Brady, right? So if there was a game where the Patriots were actually the public, she would probably do the same kind of thing, like head fake her into taking. She would actually take them, thinking like, "Oh, I'm just going to take what someone's not taking." And what is everybody taking? You know, so it could happen. You're onto something there. A lot of people could be doing that.
Todd pointed it out in the chat. Did you notice anything this week?
I
got no double dips.
I like it.
Nothing.
And I love that he brought that up with no double dips, because I'm going to get into my account bets in the NFL. And guess what I'm starting with? A double friggin' dip, baby. And an ugly one at that. I'm going to the Jags-Eagles game, right? I'm going to go on the total, and I'm taking the side here. The public loves recency bias. They saw the Eagles pound Cincinnati and the Jaguars lose to Kansas City, but a lot of points were scored in both those games. However, despite 73% of the bets and the majority of the money on the Eagles, that line has frozen at 7.5 and hasn't moved because the sharp side is the Jaguars. I hate this because we talked about it. This is a hold your butthole and just take it. I'm taking 7.5 with the Jaguars. 74% of the bets are on the over. This line opened at 47.5. It dropped to 45.5. Why? Because the books and the pros like this as I'm watching TV at the same time.
What just happened?
A nice little run by Breece Hall here. I don't know how the Jets are staying in here. They absolutely stink. So
this would be a primetime under right here.
Oh, absolutely. Because, I mean, just watch it. Both these teams actually stink. I got the Jags, and I've got 7.5, and I got under 46.5. And I really like that one. I'm going to one. This one was a crazy one, Blake. I'm going to the Dallas and the Falcons game, and I'm gonna look at the total here. The public sees the Falcon offense that has scored. Get a hold of this in the 4 of the last 5 weeks: 31, 38, 36, and 26 points. The Falcons are scoring some points. Now, their defense absolutely stinks. And that's what they see. They also see a Dallas defense. They're depleted. They stink, and they may be quitting on their coach. 68% of the bets are agreeing with that, and they're taking the over. Despite that, This line, so it was at about 49.5 until that Dallas San Francisco second half happened, and they re-released it at 52.5, and I jumped on it. I took under 52.5. It dropped as low as 51. I think it's settling in around 52. I'm going to side with the pros and the books on this one, and hopefully a pissed off Dallas defense. My theory here, this has no solid evidence on this, that I think McCarthy's on the hot seat. I think he's on his way out. NFL, like Jerry Jones, I don't think he's going to fire him in the middle seat, but if he does, you know who's going to be the coach. It's going to be the defensive coach coordinator is Zimmer. They're going to put him as in the interim. I could see if that is like the feeling in the locker room, this defense is going to play for their coach. They're going to play for Zimmer, and they're going to pump that guy up. I got under 52.5. I'm going to go to the Bears and the Cards. This was a stretch by me. I don't necessarily like this one, but I'm going to the total. I think this total is right where it should be. And that's why it hasn't moved. But when I look at this, I see 67% of the bets are on the over in this one. I've got to go under. Okay. It's very easy for the public to cover when we drop that line. That line has dropped from 45 to 44. I'm going to side with this reverse line movement. I got under 45 in the Bears Cards game. I can't say I'm in love with this one because I think that line's right about right, but I'll take that movement. You know where I go. And then the game I was telling you about, I'm going to end up on this game if the quarterback doesn't change. I'm going to the Tennessee and the Patriots game here. I really, 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 really like this game if it goes my way. The public sees two evenly matched teams. The bets are even saying that the bets are 50-50 in this game, Blake. However, it opened at 2.5 and it's moved to 3. If the bets are split, it shouldn't be moving like that. Mm-hmm. But here's the wait, hold on, pump the brakes. I'm glad it's at 3.5. If it was at 3, I would have taken this game earlier in the day. I didn't take it. I was driving home. I heard that Billy Blue Jeans might get a chance to play in this game. If Willie Levi's plays in this game, do not bet this game. I am not betting this game. As soon as I hear Mason Rudolph is playing, I'm betting Tennessee at -3.
Which is crazy because Mason Rudolph, I hate him so much. He's got such a dumb, punchable face. He really does. Like, I understand why Myles Garrett went after him with that helmet. He's got a punchable face.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I say that on Todd? Can I say that on Twitter? Is that against terms of service?
Well, if I can say hold your butthole and take it.
That's true. Yeah, we might be breaking all the TOS. I don't know. No, man. No, yeah. The game's gross. Did you have any other ones real quick?
I don't, but somehow I'm in love with my bets, and I hope I end up right.
All right. Ravens -8 against the Broncos. Bounce back for Ravens. Mm-hmm. And that trend that you spoke of earlier, I have 2 of those games. So take that for what it's worth. Because I also have the Bengals against the Raiders.
Yep.
The Raiders are just bad.
But that's where we're going. I mean, and again, that's one where I would look at, I could guarantee, I haven't looked at the numbers in that. I've looked at the numbers, but those games I skipped right over on Monday. I guarantee there's professional money on those dogs because they bet those numbers, and that's what they're going to do. They haven't adjusted. There's no parity. Bad teams are bad teams. Bo Nix is going to score at least 14 points for the Ravens.
Yeah. Commanders -3.5 at the Giants. I just don't think I don't think the Giants are good, and I think the Commanders are very good. Yeah. They've figured out a lot defensively, and obviously the quarterback is incredible.
Yeah, the only thing that scared me off of that game is I think the Giants should have won that first game. I think they were the first time ever in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns, and the other team didn't score any, and they lost.
Yeah,
which is
that was before Daniels like really started.
Yeah, 100%. But you look at that. But when you look at it, the familiarity of teams, they know how to play them. They play them. But again, that I love the Commanders. I mean,
Yeah.
I kid around and call them the Commandos, but I like that team. I like the way they're playing. And their coach he's got to be in the lead, one of the lead bets for Coach of the Year.
He's awesome.
Quinn's
I love
awesome.
him. Yeah.
Now, I don't know how long he's going to last.
And I have one more.
All right,
that
baby.
Is one that I agree with my friend Mike on. Bears Cardinals under 44.5.
Yes, here we go.
I love that one. I think the Bears defense is good, and especially after what happened to them last week, they're going to come out and play really well. And Caleb's been up and down. And the Cardinals defense is low-key decent.
Yeah,
like not great, but decent.
It could go one or two ways. They come out embarrassed and pissed off, which I love when teams do. That does happen. However, they could also come out and just be done with the Eberflus and flip the double middle finger in this game and get totally rocked out in Arizona 47-3.
I think no matter what happens the rest of the year, Eberflus is out. They would have to go to, I would say, the NFC Championship game for him to keep his job. Legitimately, that's what I think. Like, they could, if they win the division, go to the NFC Championship, he keeps his job. That's it. Like, you cannot. That game last week was so bad. You cannot do that.
Yeah, I'm checking real quick because I want to say he's lost more than one game. Like being on, let alone just when you look at the way teams play, it gets down to being on the coach. I
mean, his nickname is, I call him
Indianapolis game. Yeah. The Indianapolis game is the one I was thinking of. They've lost game. They could be undefeated when you go through their record with the games that they lost. And they're a team that people were really high on. You can't have that and have the number one pick and have the offense and the defense that they have and get through this. Again, not a lot of NFL teams do these mid-season firings, so he'll probably survive the year. But you're right. They need to make the playoffs at least for him to have a chance to keep his job.
Yeah, I think, who I think wants that job. And it was all over the place.
They've said it all over. He was looking at it last year. When they were
he wanted a bag. He wanted like $15 million a year.
And and he'll get it. And I keep seeing these things go around. They're showing stuff about the Lions and Ben Johnson, and they're telling Lions fans, get used to this, suck it all in, take it all in, because he's going to be gone. I say the same thing to him, because I don't think coordinators understand that move. And a lot of them struggle, and he may not have the success that he's having. And that's the thing I worry about. You got to be able to run a team and run an organization and be able to run other guys. If he goes in thinking he's going to be calling that offense and running that team, I think he's in for a big surprise, which stinks, because we're going to love him after we win the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I just think him and Caleb and DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, like that. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It's another like thing you're taking on, but also like the things he could do with those players.
It's absolutely. And I could be told. I mean, I would leave that to. There's insiders in there that can tell right now from what he's doing and what he's. You look at Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell got there because Sean Payton gave him that chance as an assistant coach to be able to help run that team, and he understands. So I don't know if Ben Johnson's doing that. Yeah. So I just get, and I get this. They just think anoint these guys like he's just going to be awesome. But we're getting off on something else. We could talk about this. Let's let some people go to bed.
All right, and that's it. I mean, good luck this week, Mike. Good luck with the bets. We need to at some point, maybe in like 2 weeks, we'll go over some of the stuff that we talked about preseason too. Like some of the win totals that I had written down, stuff like that. So
some of those future bets that I'm just itching to maybe cash in my account coming up.
You know what? We can do that the championship weekend.
And you're not watching. Yeah, absolutely. And you're not what Devontae Adams is walking to the locker room.
Nice. Jets
Yeah.
are falling apart.
Not an
before our
AB
eyes.
style, but I think Hurt style.
Nice. Well, I'm going to
Cool.
get out of here and go watch
All
that
right.
game and watch Tulane. Tulane has the greatest helmets in college
I
football.
love those helmets. Those were sharp. I love me some Green Wave.
Thank you, Todd, for everything you do, obviously, with the graphics. Wait, did you do a thing on, oh no, it's the under thing. I was like looking at the bottom there again, but thank you for all you do with the graphics and staying up late with us and dealing with all of our bullshit. Thank you, Mike, for you staying up late for me on a Thursday night. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next week we'll be probably earlier. I would say like
Yeah.
6 or 7 o'clock. So,
Oh my goodness gracious. Unbelievable. Love it.
But we are out of here. Good luck to everyone with your bets, and we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Off the Board. Tune in all throughout the football season for weekly picks and insights. Subscribe to Unsyndicated and Off the Board on all your favorite social media and podcast platforms.